It's been a year now since Barack Obama stood on the steps of the Capitol building and took the oath of office to become our nation's 44th president. What a wild ride it's been. In the last year, we've seen massive unemployment, resurgent terrorism, a grassroots revolt against big government, and a political atmosphere so hostile to the left that liberals couldn't even hold on to Ted Kennedy's Senate seat in Massachusetts. All this on the watch of a president who has said that he should be judged by the legacy he leaves behind. Whoops. All of this chaos couldn't have been what millions of Americans were hoping for when they pulled the lever for Obama in 2008. After all, weren't we promised hope and change? But then again, if the past year has shown us anything, it's that a promise from this president should be taken about as seriously as Bill Clinton's wedding ring. But we're not the only ones who think that. Just ask Nancy Pelosi. Recently, when the Speaker of the House was asked why President Obama had broken his pledge to air congressional health care negotiations on C-SPAN, she simply laughed and said there are a number of things that he was for on the campaign trail.
There are a number of things he was for on the campaign trail.
That's a far cry from the fresh-faced candidate from Illinois who told voters that he would televise the negotiations so that people can see who is making arguments on behalf of their constituents and who is making arguments on behalf of the drug companies or the insurance companies. As a matter of fact, it was the Obama White House that bribed the drug makers and the insurance companies to go along with Obamacare, all behind closed doors, without a camera in sight.
You know, I respect what the Clintons tried to do in 1993 in moving health reform forward. But they made one really big mistake, and that is they took all their people and all their experts into a room and then they closed the door. We will work on this process publicly. It'll be on C-SPAN. It will be streaming over the net.
Unfortunately, this isn't the exception for President Obama. It's the rule. During the campaign, he opposed the idea of an individual mandate that would force Americans to buy health insurance, regardless of whether they wanted it or not. Now, it's one of the centerpieces of his health care reform plan. He claimed that his administration would mark the moment when the rise of the oceans began to slow and our planet began to heal. Yet, he hasn't made one bit of progress on climate change, and the Earth still seems to be humming along nicely. President Obama also told us he'd usher in a new era of transparent government. He said that every piece of legislation passed by Congress would be able to be viewed by the American people for at least 5 days before he signed it, then began signing bills within hours of them leaving Capitol Hill. He said he'd keep lobbyists out of his administration. Then he signed waivers in order to make sure they would have office space waiting for them in the White House. And he said he would eliminate earmarks, yet just last month he signed a defense bill with over $4 billion in pork. Then there's the economy. No issue has created more fear and uncertainty in the past year, and President Obama's unreliability certainly hasn't helped matters any. When the president signed the stimulus bill into law, he did so claiming that its infusion of cash into the economy would keep unemployment from passing 8%. Yet, less than a year later, the nation's jobless rate is now in the double digits. He swore that he wouldn't raise any kind of taxes on individuals making less than $250,000 a year, then proceeded to sign and push legislation that increases taxes for people making much less, including a health care bill that will tax health insurance coverage. And he pledged a new era of fiscal responsibility, then went on to oversee the largest peacetime increase in government spending in American history. A year ago, President Obama took office with the promise that he was a new kind of politician, one that we could trust. It turns out that he was right. When the president makes a promise, we can trust that the reality is going to be something very different. That's this week's Freedom Minute.